Are we really ready to retire? Today, it's very special for me to discuss about the retirement. Okay, I've sent to them numbers of proposed topics, and they're very brilliant to choose the retirement. I'm not a financial consultant, but this is very special to me. So, roadmap to enjoying retirement away from the workplace. We need to dissect first what's the retirement, workplace, and roadmap. So, as you know, roadmap is a strategic goal for us to do such things. And many of us, if you heard your boss that you wanted to be, they wanted you to be a strategic. What does it mean? Right? So same thing that I've experienced before that Jake, when I was starting Jake, you need to be strategic. And it's very hard for me to define what strategy and what are the things that I am doing. I'm doing the right thing, I'm doing these things. But strategy can help you to define what are your goals before any risk that you may encounter. So away from the workplace, it's very interesting topic for us because a lot of us in the recruitment or employee cycle, we have the onboarding to offboarding, right? So no one have ever discussed the hiring, training, firing, retiring. Okay? So in HR or even in our profession or personal, okay, it's very important that we know hiring, training, developing people, and also retiring. Okay? So why I say it's very special because my father, okay, initially when we do, he has this habit of asking me. Okay? He always asks me things because maybe my father, I grew up in a military base wherein people are what? Obey first before you complain. So he ensured to us that he would ask question in our family. And he likes to do it when I was always in the garden while getting the weeds, not weeds, mga wild grasses, and ensuring that the Korean grass is there. And during the pandemic, what happened last March 2020, I was an HR in a hospitality business, and our dear friend told us that we were really affected by the pandemic. So it closed, and suddenly no one is reporting to the office. Now the question is, where is my strategic plan? Okay, first I was really lost, and all of us I know are lost as well. So I was working in Pangasinan. I need to go back to our hometown in Pampanga. So again, it happened the same thing on March 2020. After 1 week, we go back to Pangasinan, and I was again plucking the wild grasses. And my father asked me, "What's your plan?" I cannot really answer. Maybe same thing happened to you. So it's very special that that garden, whenever we have a deep conversation and asking me some questions, it's always there. And he taught me about life to look at life through a lens. So a lot of people now, when we take a snapshot, it's just like that. But there is life behind that as you look at the back, and when you capture it, there is a new life. Right? So he taught me first to look at the life that through a lens. Next, he told me to explore the family tree. He informed me, because he was a pensioner, okay, he informed me that any decisions really matter. As an HR, whatever you decide now, you'll see our families, our relatives, what's their life after 60 or after 50. And what's our life now? Also informed me and ensured during the COVID to focus on well-being, our mental health. So He required me to exercise. I was 87 pounds before, down to 80, right? And gaining up and down. But he asked me to focus with the mental health. Because mental health, as we know, is as important as physical health. So in your retirement, he also have a lesson which is to prioritize our needs. And always strike the balance. And during the conversation, he asked me, Jake, there are a lot of people who are smart like you, but they are not successful. And look at those people who are not getting, previously, not in even the top 10, but they are successful. I asked the answer to him, why do you think, Jake? And he gave me an answer, because they can focus, okay? Because they can focus, and then they can prioritize the needs, and then strike the balance. Unlike for every one of us who has a lot of options. So, while doing that, another realization that I had is as I go about with my career, he told me, don't be troubled, be excited. But during that time, how can I be excited? I lost jobs. I lost my job. I was in the house, but he keeps on telling me, don't be troubled, be excited. That was around May. So, I keep on reflecting during that time, how am I when I'm started to apply in a job? And later on, what will happen to me in the future? If I'll get an accident, if I'll get anything. So there are a lot of things running in my mind. But those things, previous learnings, kept me going. So, in terms of the Republic Act 10911, or also known as Anti-Age Discrimination Act of 2016, this law, or Philippine law, prohibits us in terms of discrimination in the age. Right? So you notice that we can hire people. I mean, in Singapore, there are a lot of people who can work in the organizations, factories, or even to the fast food. In Philippines, it's not. And because this is my interest, as I'm studying Masters of Guidance and Counseling, one of the provoking topic that I wanted to do as I'm doing my thesis is the lived experiences of PWDs and seniors in the Philippines. And as I interviewed a lot of professionals, they've seen, or I've heard from them, literally, that they even wanted to work after 60, even after 65. Why? Because they're not prepared. They didn't do anything when they were young. So as they do the retirement, what happened is, for them, it's not an end of the road, but it's another turn in the road. Same thing happened for all those people who I interviewed, did the survey, same answer. It's very painful for my side to listen to them because all of them are taking maintenance, right? So imagine that. Imagine your parents who still wanted to work because they didn't prepare for their retirement. So in Section 4 of Anti-Age Discrimination is in employment, acts implemented, or IRR, which signed February 2, 2017. These are the things that we are doing. So when we post jobs, in any advertisement, we should be sensitive in the age, right? So now the question keeps on lingering in my mind and keeps on pondering, how can I really future-proof my career? And perhaps for you, most of you, we still don't know. What will happen if 3 years from now, 5 years from now, there would be another COVID-19, there will be another pandemic. So, because of that, within few months, or within that period of May, I conceptualized these 7 F's, which are fundamentals. I call it fundamentals. So that's me, HR, that's you, okay? Anything that you have, for example, in your faith, okay, will affect the society. You, with your family support, can also affect society and or organization. HR or you, with your friends, society, and vice versa. You, losing your fun or your hobbies, will affect the organization, your fitness, your finance, and the future. Same thing happened to us before, right? So SSS provided us with the finance. Okay, with the 7,000, 8,000, 10,000, that affects us. So it's interdependent. Okay, so I was able to conceptualize that, and I go back to the fundamental, which is the vision board. For me, it's very powerful, and I realized that when I was 13 years old, all the things that I've written down on my notes, on my journal, keeps on happening. So it became a cycle for me that I have to write down the things, what I dream about, what's the past, and what I wanted to achieve. So it can be a collection of your goals. You can get a magazine, you can write, it's up to you. But having this vision board, you will notice that most of the people who are successful are using this visualizing. Agree? So now, after realizing those learnings, I have this building the new better for our retirement. There are very challenging and remarkable changes happen in COVID-19, but my thing, and I always thought about after 10 years, 5 years, is to build a new better for your retirement. And retirement don't have any particular age. You can retire early or you can retire more than 60. But the thing is, you need to build a new better. Now, what will be the post-pandemic normality look like? Perhaps there could be an option of hybrid work. There could be a return to work from home. But still, the question is, what will happen after 10 years or so? Are you still future-proof? Can you retire as you wish? The date and the time. So I want you to think those things. Now, really, COVID-19 is a catalyst of action. A lot of things during that time. I also became a plantito during that time. And as an HR, I realized that we are really flexible, agile. As a Filipino, we're matatag. We're very resilient. So I want you to use that and draw from how would you visualize your life when you retire? Think of any agent of change now in your life. Now there is a transition of upskilling and reskilling. We talk about how we wanted to learn during the pandemic, after the pandemic. And with that, what happened is, during the pandemic, a lot of people who wanted to upskill and reskill through online. And thank you for having the online platform during the time. Okay, so as I also realized that with the skills, reskilling, retooling, whatever you wanted to call it, okay, it also helps that you need to close the skills gap when you wanted to unlock your future milestones. We've heard about the emerging skills, okay, which I will talk about. But any skills that you think in the digital transformation or the digital age, okay, you must close the gap. We have a lot of teachers in the public schools who were forcibly retired early because when they changed to the Google platform or any online platform, they cannot cope up. Right? So imagining that on ourselves 10 years from now, what would be the change? So with all those gaps or skills that we need to close the gap, we should be there. Now, why I say it's very special for me, because during the 2020, it was the very downfall in my life. Okay? We lost our job, and the only thing and the only thought running in my mind is to survive, is to thriving. I don't want to depend on surviving. I don't want to think about just surviving. I want to thriving. So with that, I want to prove to my father during that time that as an HR, we can reskill, we can upskill. So known to many, I was featured in One in Manila, One in Pampanga, and Scholarship Corner as I finished 24 courses from elite universities and some companies that provide online courses. So having the Future Learn, Coursera, Udemy, I kept on doing that. So following the 2 days, I went to test the website. And I kept on learning and learning, even being a massage therapist, even being a welder. So anything that I wanted to learn, because I don't know what skills will be needed for the next coming years. So after 3 days, I realized in TESDA, I finished another 24 courses. With that, I wanted to inspire people to upskill and reskill and close the gap. So as I shared in my personal Facebook, many people got inspired. The good thing about that is I'm now sharing or reaching other people to be coached how they can also close the gaps. So a lot of people reach out to me and ask, how did you do that? From business management, from leadership, anything. So there are hundreds of people who messaged me during that time, and it's very inspiring to reach out to them and feel the same energy of learning during those times. So with this, I borrowed this is an inspiration from the survey of World Economic Forum, August 14, 2020, that they have 10, right? They have 10 skills for professionals, but I added some of it. So as I inspired, we need these 12 thriving skills. Number 1, we need to have analytical skills. If you wanted to retire, agility, we discussed already. Business management skills, we heard the change of HRBP, human resource or business partnering. Coaching is very important in advising. Cross-cultural understanding, as we think global, act local. Empathy and compassion is very important during that time. Ethical practices, inclusive decision making, market and talent intelligences, as we have these analytics to provide to our stakeholder, team leadership skills, and also technical system knowledge, because there are a lot of emerging tools, trends, and technologies. So after May 2020, June 2020, my father got his 7th stroke. We rushed him to the hospital. And I keep on thinking, what will happen to me if I was in that situation? Okay, for 5 days we had this, able to help him, and we provided him help. But looking at the ER or the ICU, there are a lot of professionals that I've seen and asked people who are caretakers, but no one is an HR there. Maybe perhaps because it's a veterans hospital wherein they cater people there for free, okay? But I keep on thinking, what will happen to me then if I got into the same situation? So I need to rethink, and same concept, same learning that I've applied, Do not be troubled, be excited. So now I've again conceptualized 10 ways to retire. Number one, you can be consultant, okay, resource speaker, trainer. You can be influencer, okay? Because I know that the attention now is the new currency, right? So you have the social media, and whenever you got the attention from the people, then it's a new currency. You can be an author or writer, because with the rich experiences that you have, you write it down. And I know that will be very helpful for the rest. Manpower agency or being a recruiter. You can be a professor or instructor. This is just my recommendation that you can consider. A businessman. In People Matters, when we attended last August in Singapore, there is a question asked if an HR can be a CEO, or will be an HR can be an effective CEO. The answer is yes. Right? Because we know the business, we know the people, and being a businessman definitely can be a success for everyone. You can be a gardener like me, right? You can be a parent, and one day perhaps you will go. The best thing about retirement is one day you'll say, "Hey, honey, I'm home for good." Right? For good. Hindi na talaga babalik. Okay? You can be a parent, the best grandfather or the best father. You can wake up or you can work without feeling na may nakatingin sa'yo kahit wala kang ginagawa. I mean, maliban lang sa nanay mo siguro, okay? But being like 60 years old, that's the best thing in the retirement. But I still want you and to see that one day, one of us can meet and greet that you will retire as an HR. So as you realize your new better, okay, let's call it you better. So anything that change, anything that you need, you can do, okay? A small things, it's called a new better. So I draw these 8 R's in the retirement. So we can do reflecting, as discussed earlier on. You can do retreat, you can go wherever you want. You can do part of retaining things that you've learned. You can resonate anything that you've experienced, redefine your goals, reward yourself, reward your family. You can revamp, okay? If, as I mentioned, any progress has no age, retirement has no age, and you can recycle anything in your skills. Now, I'd like to end with this story. There is a place in Romania. They call it the Mary Cemetery or the Mocking Cemetery. So it was featured in BBC by Ramesh Ranganathan. Okay, so there is a mocking cemetery. Okay, and what happened is there is an epitaph, right, wherein you can read your past undertakings, right? So there are plumbers, there are drunkards, there is a mother who's scolding the son-in-law. Okay, may galit yung son-in-law. So nakaganon. So there is a picture there. There could be a planner, and I want you to imagine how would we want it to retire. If your loved ones would put in the epitaph your life story, what would it be? So my father recently died this year, April 26, 2022. So this year, okay, I was really ready for it. In fact, 5 years ago when I self-published a book which is called Panaghoy ng Pamilya. It's a poem or poetry about the family. So we're ready about that because it's already 7th stroke of my father. On the epitaph, like my father, it says there the rank, the name, and retired. Okay? That's how it looks like. But again, nothing in HR community was put there. Name, HR, retired. Okay? The thing is, the takeaway here is in terms of our existential purpose, how do we want to put our life or to carve in the stone how we live in earth? And thank you very much. With that, I hope that as we meet in the future, I can ask you, HR, happy retirement.